Hi, Finner here. Today we are looking at the beautiful OConner 2575D head. OConner is by far my favorite fluid head manufacturer. It just works so incredibly well. And I'm going to show you a few of the features and what I love about this head. First off, we'll just take a quick little look at the extension leveler here. What's nice about that is if you're on a dolly moving around and you're set back from the camera, it needs to be set back, it helps keep the eyepiece at the same height level instead of moving up and down with the camera. So it makes it easier to operate when you're sitting on a dolly. You just don't end up moving around nearly as much, which is nice to have. Also, it has a counterbalance. Unlike some of the other heads, the counterbalance of the OConner runs from 0 to 99. It's on a crank on the dummy side, the opposite side of the head here. You just crank it up or down. And what that allows you to do is if you've got a long lens on like this, let's say, or even a big matte box with a bunch of glass on it, you're front heavy. So instead of putting a bunch of pressure on the operator's arm at the back, what it does is it keeps the camera really light and situated there to the point where, as you can see, I can take my hand right off and the camera just sits. Move up a little bit, take my hand right off and the camera just sits there, which is really nice feature to have. Looking up, there's no strain on you whatsoever. Going to pop this camera off. It's a little easier to see with the camera off the head itself. Okay, so I'm just removing now the extension eyepiece leveler. Just pop that off. And there's this piece here that just mounts to the head. That point pops off, and that's the assembly that you'll need to use for the eyepiece leveler. Going on, we'll start right at the top. Okay, there's a Euro plate quick release. What that does is at the back, there's just a little mount, pop it off, and as you can see, there's a quick shoe that will pop in to the plate itself right onto the head. So it pops into place. You'd normally have your camera on this sliding plate. Clicks in, snap to lock. It's just that simple. And then you can slide your camera on this sliding plate itself, or you can loosen up there and slide the whole Euro plate itself, which has that quick release shoe that I showed that pops in and out. And it's just a matter of popping off that release there to pop the whole unit off and get it off. Another nice feature that OConner has is on their sides here. They have markings so you can see approximately where you are and how far you've moved forward. Now, along with that, pin lock here to lock into place, lock your level up, and you can also lock your tilt from here. As far as pan locks go, I go off of a dolly grip who always used to say, never lock the pan, never lock the pan, never lock the pan. And his thinking behind it, and I actually came to agree with it, is that if you have the pan locked and you're on a tripod and someone walks and they bump into the camera, it'll push the whole unit. Whereas if it's not locked, it'll just move. If it gets bumped in the front, it'll just move and not knock over the whole assembly, crashing it to the ground. So I never lock the pan. It also, if we take a quick look, it's got an illuminating bubble, which is quite nice. If you're shooting at night or even during the day, it makes it a little easier to find. So you can get your level on there, set it, and you've got illumination set. Along with that, on the operator side, you have your pan that you can crank up to give more restriction on the pan itself for maybe a longer, if you're on a long lens and you want a smoother pan. You've got that, or you can loosen it up if you need to make quick pans. Another nice feature, the 2575D that they came out with, is there's a nice rubber piece there that you can rest your hand on, along with 4 rosettes for mounting your arm onto at the front and at the back. So you could run an arm off the front as well if you wanted one up front, or even 2 off the front or 2 off the back, which I've seen used before by some operators. On this side, you've got your tilt fluid balance, which it's not a counterbalance, it's just the stiffness of how hard it is to tilt up and down. And you can lower that. That goes from 1 to 10, so there's a lot of settings on that. Also on this side is that counterbalance that I was mentioning. Now we are set at 44, and it's just a matter of cranking. You can crank it down. Taking a look at the front, we got a front box plate on here. Now this plate just slides in place, locks on, and what it allows you to do is put accessories on the front, the most common being the front box, which is used in LA and New York, more studio shows. Up here in Canada, kind of shooting we do is pretty rough and tumble, a lot of westerns, things like that. These do not come off the truck really at all. Everyone runs with belts with all their products and all their pens and tape measures and stuff. Because when you got horses ripping around you and you're running around in rough terrain, one of these gets dropped real easy and then you've got everything all over the place. But the focus puller can put his tape measures, his water, his whatever he wants, whatever kind of accessories he likes to use, maybe a level bubble, different things he can have here. So, iPhone, I guess, with all the applications you can get now. We have on here a 150 Sackler ball. But most often these are used with a Mitchell. And it's just a matter of taking a few screws off on the bottom, and you can get rid of that ball adapter and put the Mitchell, which actually saves you some room and lowers you down even a little bit lower, which is nice, gets you closer to the ground at times. So, that's the OConner 2575D head. Reason to buy this sucker, why do you want it? Well, because you want the right tool for the job, number one. Number two, another reason why we bought it was because we don't have enough money to buy cheap gear. And the thinking behind that is if you want to spend a little bit of money, you're going to be spending it every few years because it's going to break or it's not going to stand up and it's just not going to be good enough. You buy a head like this, it's going to last in day in, day out of shooting. And it's just because it's built for it. It's built for 90 pounds of weight and it can handle the strain of pretty much anything you can throw at it with a red, which is nice to have, and you know that day in and day out it's going to perform top notch. So that's the OConner 2575 head. A beautiful head, highly recommended. We love shooting with it. Till next time, happy shooting.